I tried out object tracking with the Moza Air 2 on my DJI Mavic Mini. Here's what happened. I tried this on a few different days under different conditions. The first day the object tracking worked pretty well, mostly because it was really nice out and there was a nice blue sky, so it contrasted well with the gray exterior of the Mavic Mini. But I was having issues with the Moza Air 2's motors. They kept vibrating because the payload was too light. I normally use my Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K with the Moza Air 2, but I wanted to use my Panasonic Lumix G9 just because it has autofocus, which didn't work very well anyway, so I eventually figured out that the motor power was incorrectly set because the payload was too light. Overall, the Moza Air tracked the Mini fairly well when it was close enough for the iPhone's camera to pick it up, and the contrasting background was good enough. When I tested it during a cloudy day on the third day, the object tracking was nearly useless, but it's also worthy to note it wouldn't work well unless the Mini was actually in the sky. Anytime it passed in front of an object like a house or a tree, it would lose track. Not every time, but most of the time. So it utilizes the wide camera on the iPhone, so once the Mini gets so far away, the object tracking loses it. And this either disengages the object tracking or it starts to violently shake and vibrate as it tries to reacquire. That brings me to another complaint. When the Moza loses track and disengages, or you press the little X to disengage, it always goes back to center position. I wish there was an option for it to remain where it was so I can reacquire versus going back to center and having to reposition every time. It's super annoying because you have to walk back to use the joystick to again reacquire. Initially, I wanted to test this out to see if it's a viable option for my drone videos. My impressions are that it might work better on the Mavic 2, which, if you guys like this video, I might try it again with the Mavic 2. But even then, once it gets 50 or so feet away, it's not going to be able to acquire. So maybe if they did something to swap to the telephoto lens or even allowed a digital zoom, but at the time, it's not an option I could find. My other complaint is going to be the composition. Even if you get it to work correctly, you need to calibrate your phone and camera with the camera's lens, which I couldn't get quite right. I'm sure a procedure could be developed to balance the position and the cameras correctly, but overall the system doesn't work well enough for even me to care to try. I could see some practical uses out of it, but it's too difficult to set up properly to get the right compositions and too early in development to be useful in a practical setting. It'd be fun to maybe mount this setup on my truck and like have the Mavic 2 Pro active track the truck while the Moza Air 2 object tracks the Mavic 2. That would probably work pretty well. And it did work pretty well for some of the Mini's quick shot modes like Circle, Helix, and Rocket, but it didn't work that great on Droney. Same with Helix. If it got too far away, it didn't work that great. But really the problem with Droney is if you didn't position it perfectly so it doesn't pass in front of an object and it stays in the sky, it would lose acquisition. But it could work if conditions are right. I'd say that probably the biggest problem I had was setting the cameras up correctly so that I could actually see the drone and get like a close-up of it and like have it in a decent composition. It always ended up on the wrong place on the G9, so most of the G9's footage was useless. So let me know what else you guys think might work well with object tracking on the Moza Air 2. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.